Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. I'm Helen Higginbotham, founder of this organization. It's a group of women. We get together on Sundays and talk about all kinds of stuff, things that are relevant to us, and hopefully intergenerational conversations that inspire us in some way when we leave here. Today, we have a wonderful, wonderful conversation with a wonderful, wonderful guest. Hey, Miss Vivian,
Hey, Miss Helen, how you
how
doing?
are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good for a Sunday afternoon.
Good.
So today's topic is Vivian Reed, uh, a diva defined. And the reason I named it that is because you know what, we throw that. You hear so many people throwing around that term so loosely, diva, diva, diva. What's a diva? A diva doesn't mean you have attitude. It doesn't mean you dress nice. It doesn't mean you're cute. It means you got some talent. And even a lot of our young entertainers, not taking anything away from them, but can they sing a cappella? A cappella? Is that how you say it? A
Yeah,
cappella?
a cappella.
Yeah, can they do that? Do they need the tracks? I don't know. So we're going to talk today about what a diva is, and I promise you that Miss Reed is definitely a diva and someone that we can all we're going to have a good afternoon talking to. So Vivian's going to tell us about her venture from how she got from Pittsburgh to Broadway, because that has to be exciting, and all the interesting people that she's met along the way, the wonderful people that she's performed with, that she's performed for, the wonderful stages that she's been on. Just how does a young lady, how's a little girl from Pittsburgh have a dream that's so big and make it come true? So thank you, Miss Vivian, for agreeing to be with us today.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
So,
let's
what do you
just
want to
get
know?
started. Yeah, let's get started. Pittsburgh. So
Yeah,
you're born and raised, and your family's from Pittsburgh?
born and raised in Pittsburgh. My parents are from Gaffney, South Carolina, and both are deceased. I've never been to their home. When I wanted to take my mother back there, she absolutely did not want to return there because I guess during the time when she was growing up, it was probably not very good and not very nice, and a whole lot of racism that she was hit with. So she didn't want to return there. So I never saw her home, never been there. But yeah, born and raised in Pittsburgh, and my mother told me one day that when I was about 3, I don't remember that at all, but she said I was making melodious tones. Her words, not mine.
Okay.
And so she says to my father, I think our daughter's going to be a singer. And so when I turned 6, they took me to a place called Pittsburgh Musical Institute. It doesn't exist anymore. But there we met a lady by the name of Romaine Russell, a classical teacher. So I sang whatever I knew. I don't know what that was at the time. And she said that I was too young and to bring me back in 2 years. So in 2 years, when I turned 8, that's when I started studying classical music because I was born a classical singer. I mean, obviously raised in the church, but my voice obviously said classical. So I stayed with her until I graduated from Shinley High School. And at the age of 13, I gave my first concert where I sang in 3 languages. And my father also sang with me. He was a wonderful, wonderful singer. So we had a father and daughter concert at a school called Aleo Wow. And yeah, I have
And
good
you're eight
memories.
years old?
At that time, when I gave the concert, I was 13. I had been
Okay.
studying with her for a few years. And but that was my very first concert. And then after high school, someone suggested to my mother that she take me to New York to audition for Juilliard. So they had their requirements. We had to sing, as it was called in, I think at that time, I don't know if they still call Negro spirituals, but I had to sing a Negro spiritual and a couple arias, Italian and what have you, and a couple art songs. So the requirements for getting into the school were very, very strict. And I did well and I got in on a partial scholarship.
Wow. That must have been exciting. And how old are you at that point?
At that point, I had just turned, I think, 17 because I skipped a grade, I think in junior high school because of my reading ability. That's laughable now.
I
But
doubt it.
at the time, at the time, yeah, I skipped a grade, and so I was 17 when I got to New York, and in my, I think the second year, that's when I met a woman by the name of Ernestine McClendon, who was an agent, a booking agent, and she heard me sing somewhere, I don't know where, and I had heard a little bit about the Apollo Theater. So she says to me, I'm going to take you by the Apollo and see if I could get you a job. And I'm thinking to myself, hmm, I had heard very little about the Apollo, but I don't remember them ever talking about classical singers being on that stage singing. So I thought that was a bit odd, but she took me by there and I met Honey Coles and Bobby Schiffman, his family owned the Apollo, and a few others. And they said I was kind of too green to put on the stage, but they, at that particular moment, but that they would like to manage me. And so I said, okay. So while I wasn't going to Juilliard, they made me watch those shows. I saw the absolute greatest come in and out of the Apollo Theater. I mean, the best. And you learn a lot just from watching the pros. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience that I wish a lot of the young people today uh, that could happen to. Because I think in a career in show business, you need guidance. I think you cannot just jump in unaware of what the the pitfalls are, and not the basic knowledge of what this business entails. So I was guided. Bobby taught me the business of show business, and Honey taught me all about the stage. Now, of course, as I got older, experience taught me everything. That which I didn't learn from Bobby and Honey, I learned just from experience. But they didn't teach me musical theater. That was not their thing. Their thing was more or less the Apollo and the concert stage. So after a while, maybe in 1 or 2 years, I was put on a show with Jerry Butler, and I remember singing a duet with him, one of his big songs, "For Your Precious Love."
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so that was thrilling. Then I met Bill Cosby. I met a lot of great people, Maxine Brown, Gladys. I met all of them. Gladys Knight, the Temptations. I met everyone, all of
So
them.
your first performance at the Apollo was with Jerry Butler.
Was with Jerry Butler.
That's
Yes.
exciting in itself. Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't know, there was a club while I was still in school. I think that probably helped me a little bit, but there was a club in Harlem called Pauline's Interlude, and the whole club was gay. All the men in there were gay. And I didn't know anything much about gay people at that time. And but there were a lot of men in there, very well dressed doctors, lawyers, and there were some women, and the women were just so glamorous and just very high fashion, haute couture. I mean, it was amazing. And that's where I met Susan Taylor, who used to be editor of Essence. And yeah, she would frequent the place. And Susan is the one that got me into makeup,
Get
believe
out.
it or not. She
Wow.
was so glamorous at the time. And at that particular time, no, I did not wear makeup. And Honey wanted me to do something at this, I don't know, this big ball that they were having. And Susan, I was telling Susan about it when she came to the club, to Pauline's, and she said, well, you're going to have to put on makeup I said, I ain't putting on no makeup. What do you mean makeup? And she said, Vivian, you have to put on makeup. And so she guided me and told me what to buy. And that's when makeup started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So let me go back to Pittsburgh. Do you come from a large family? Are you an only child, or and are you in New
No,
York by yourself? Do your parents leave you there at 17 by
no.
yourself?
Yeah, they did. My mother left me there with a retired school teacher by the name of Maida Thompson. And she lived on 110th Street long since she died years ago. But when she left, I remember when the door closed and she left, I started bawling like a baby because I had never been away from my mother and father. So that was pretty heavy for me. But after a while, I adjusted, and I had two other siblings, a brother, older brother, and a younger sister. But everyone's deceased now. I am the only one left. And but I have some incredible friends, and to me, that's what's so important. You have to have good friends in your life. You know, friends that you trust and with whom you can speak. You know, and tell with, you know, whatever troubles, your joys, whatever. Good friends are great to have.
I had the pleasure of meeting you with one of your great friends who's not on this call today. I don't know what's going on with Geneva, but I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember, we met at the Sugar Bar.
at the Sugar Bar. Yes, I do.
Was they were having an event and Dionne Warwick was there and
Yeah.
Roy Ayers. They were honoring them for something I don't remember, but that's when I met you. And then I had
Yes.
the pleasure of seeing you perform. I don't remember the name of the venue, but a friend was visiting from Brazil and she and I came to see you do a nightclub act, and it was just fantastic.
Oh, thank you. That was the Green Room 42
Okay.
on 10th Avenue, 42nd Street.
Yeah. So very rich classic entertainment that we don't see enough of anymore. So talk
Yes.
to me, how do you end up with bubbling brown sugar? Because that's
Well, the musical director, he called me and wanted to invite me to a party at his home. And I was like, okay, I'll come. But what are you up to? And he said, oh, nothing much. I'm doing this little show, nothing that you would be interested in. And I said, well, what's the name of the show? He said, nothing for you. He said, no, you're coming to the party. And I said, Danny, I'm coming to the party. Tell me about this show. And so he said it was a show called Bubbling Brown Sugar. I said, Bubbling Brown, what? What kind of dumb name is that? And he said, I said, well, tell me about it. And he said it was going to be a compilation of a lot of old songs written by Duke Ellington, Billie Holiday, and Fats Waller, and what have you. And I said, well, get me an audition. So he said, Vivian, this is really not a show for you. I said, Danny, just get me the audition. So he got me an audition. And one song that I used to sing a lot back in those days when I was young, got me a lot of jobs, was You're Gonna Hear From Me from Daisy Clover, which was a film. And I think I went, which was absolutely the wrong song to sing for that kind of show, but I sang it. And so they hired me actually before I left the stage. So I then said, what's the role? And they said, well, there is no role. I said, what do you mean there is no role? And they said, there's not a role. I said, then why are you hiring me? They said, because we like your singing. So I said, okay. I said, is there dancing? And they said, yes, there's a choreographer standing over there. So I went over and introduced myself to Fred Benjamin, who was the first choreographer for Bubbling Brown Sugar. And I had been studying dance for about a year, thanks to Vanette Carroll. I don't know if you remember that name. She was a director of Your Arms Too Short to Box with God, Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. And she built one of the Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope shows around me in Chicago. And when I was about to leave, she said, Vivian, whatever you do, when you get back to New York, you need to start studying dance and study it with the mentality of a dancer. So I said, okay. So when I got back, I started studying. So by the time I had this audition for Bubbling Brown Sugar, I had been studying approximately a year. So I went over and I said to the choreographer, I said, so how many dancers are you using? And he said, 3. I said, that's a funny number. Why not 4? And he said, well, I don't know. 3 was what I had in mind. I said, but 4 would be better. And so he said, well, can you dance? I said, I've been studying for about a year. Now, in terms of this business, a year is okay, but 2 and 3 years are better. Okay. So he said, well, I'm going to have to give you some choreography and see what you got. So he gave me a little routine to do. And so I became the 4th dancer. And that's how it stayed while we were out on the road until, no, actually, when we did the showcase looking for the money, I definitely remained one of the 4 dancers. But then when we got the money to go to Broadway and we were going to go out on tour first, they decided not to go with Fred Benjamin because dealing with people in show business, it's not easy. You cannot be soft. You have to be, you don't have to be mean, but you have to be firm.
Yeah.
And they decided not to go with Fred Benjamin because he was just such a lovable person. And the cast would just walk over him. Not all of the cast, but a lot of the dancers, they would just walk over him. So they decided to go with Billy Wilson, who became the choreographer for Bubbling Brown Sugar and remained so, until he died. And as far as the 2 numbers I had, God Bless the Child and Sweet Georgia Brown. Now, what was the difference between the Sweet Georgia Brown song and dance that Fred Benjamin choreographed and the one that Billy choreographed? Fred's was more artsy, more dancey, whereas Billy Wilson's was much more camp, where I think your normal audience would definitely identify with much more than with Fred Benjamin's. So, and it was a role that I created because there was no role. So I picked the songs that I wanted to sing, and I only had 2 major songs and a couple little smaller things, and that was it. And then we then heard that there was going to be a big tap number at the end of the show, and I didn't know anything about tap, so I decided to take tap lessons. And I studied it until we hit the road. And by that time, I could tap fairly well, And so I led the tap at the end of the show.
You are a natural talent to be able to pick it up like that.
No, not necessarily. I think with anything, if you want it badly enough, you have to apply yourself. I think so much of what goes on just in life, period, people, I don't mean to say people all in one big vat, but I'll say a lot of people, a percentage of people think that something should be handed them on a silver platter. Yet if they see you do something and you're quite good at it, it's quick to say, oh yeah, you're a natural at it, or doesn't take much work on your part. But in actuality, we've worked our asses off. We took the necessary lessons. We did what we had to do in order to become great on stage. Greatness does not ascend on anybody. Yes, you can be born. God can give you a gift, and certainly he gave me an incredible voice, which I thanked him every day for. But in giving that gift, or many gifts, you still have to hone them. You have to work at them. You just can't sit back and say, well, I got my gift, so let me get it on. No,
Right.
that's the difference between when you see two great singers. I always make this analogy. You can take two singers, both have equally great voices,
Mhm.
but the one that you run to see over and over and over again is the singer over here,
Yeah.
not this one over here. And why is that? Because the singer who was with this other singer has now become a performer. And that's much more entertaining for an audience. They know how to talk to you, make you feel good, make you feel welcomed. Or if you go to see musical theater, they draw you in to where they are in their mind's eye. We have a thing called you can't break the fourth wall. In theater, the fourth wall is never broken. What does that mean? That means that you don't look directly at an audience like I'm looking now. You don't look
Wow.
directly at an audience like you do when you're doing cabaret. Cabaret, you should, and if you don't, you should, because you want to make each and every person in that audience think that you're singing
Mhm.
just to them.
Right.
But in theater, it's over their heads. But you still have to spell out the story so that you can draw them into the message that you're trying to impart. So that's the difference. You don't want to be just a great singer. You want to be a great performer slash entertainer.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because I find that some people, and I was going to ask you to make the distinction because there are artists who are good entertainers, but I don't know how to say it. They don't have strong voices. They're not talent. I don't know how to say it nicely. And there's definitely a difference. And I had that debate with some, like Jennifer Hudson. I think about the young ladies now who are just talented. You've got the Jennifer Hudsons, you've got the Fantasias, these people who have these strong voices and can hold an audience. And then you have other people, they don't really have a lot of talent. They need all that acoustic stuff happening in the background, but they're good entertainers. They can sing, they can captivate. I mean, they can dance and whatever, they can captivate the audience. And I don't know.
Okay, okay, mm, I'm gonna disagree with you just a little bit.
Okay, please.
Um, yes, Jennifer Hudson, Jennifer Holliday, Patti LaBelle, and I'll include myself. We all have what you call great voices,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
who makes the hits? Most of the hits are
Mhm.
made with people with marginal voices.
Yeah.
Uh, Beyonce is an exception to the rule. People thought that Beyonce, this is years ago when she was with Destiny's Child. Okay, people thought she couldn't sing because she riffed too much. I said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I said, the girl still has a voice, so she riffs too much. But then the smart thing about Beyonce is at some point, Beyonce said, I need to better myself. I need to become more of a showman. I need to be someone who um, is a force on the stage. So I was in Pittsburgh visiting my mom, and she had finished Dreamgirls, and her new CD had come out. So I'm in my car, and listen came on.
Mhm.
So I said, wait a minute now, hold them horses. I pulled over to the curb, turned off the car. I
Listen.
said, oh my God, she's been studying. There is no way in hell
Mhm.
that girl could have sung that. When I tell you that song is difficult, it's difficult.
Okay.
You could tell by the way she sustained those notes. You could tell by the way she executed the notes. Everything that she had studied, and that's exactly what happened. She had studied voice. And I give her props only because she said, I need to better myself. I need to work on what I already have and make it greater. And that's what she did. Now, getting back to Jennifer Hudson and people of that ilk with those kinds of voices have not had the hits that, say, a Taylor Swift or even with Jody Watley, Paula Abdul. These are all kind of marginal singers. But here's the thing: when you have these funky tracks, these R&B tracks, your normal person who buy, well, not CDs anymore, but who like this kind of music, purchase, because at the time it was CDs and stuff, they're in the kitchen and no great voice is getting in the way. It's like that average voice makes a marriage with that funky track. Jennifer tried several times to make, to make records and stuff. None of them ever really hit me hard. What I love about Jennifer, I'm talking about Jennifer Hudson, I like to watch her in person. I like to see her do her thing.
I've never seen her live. I haven't
No,
seen
yes,
her.
no, well, not live. I'm not saying live. I've never seen her live. I'm just talking
Oh,
about when she's performing on television.
okay.
But let me ask you this. Did you ever run out and buy one of her records? Tell the truth.
No, I haven't.
No.
I haven't. But yeah,
So I'm just trying to make a
I hear
distinction
you. Right.
between, like when Patty sang On My Own,
Mm.
and that was nothing like the songs that she used to do with LaBelle or Patti LaBelle and the Bluebell. Not, it was nothing like that. It was controlled, because I think the producer said, "Okay, Patty, you can't be singing all them notes and da 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 da." Because if you go back and you listen to On My Own, you distinctly understand the melody, you understand everything, and she had a hit chart with that.
Right.
She had a hit on
I
the
hear what you're
charts.
saying. Of
Do you
course,
hear
I
what I'm
think
saying? Okay.
I do. I do understand exactly what you're saying. I think when you see her in concert, then she does all that other stuff.
Then
But you're
she
right.
does, yeah, but then she has a right to.
Yes, I
Jennifer
hear you.
has a right to, because the thing is,
Mhm.
ain't no way in hell that Jody Watley, Paula Abdul, and some of those others with just the average voices are gonna touch
Right.
Patty and Jennifer, both Jennifers on the stage. Ain't gonna happen in a million years.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
difference.
That
Miss
is.
Reed,
Yes, darling.
do you think that I heard Beyonce's father talk about, and I think it's almost too discussed now, but he talked about Beyonce's looks
In
being
terms of,
part of the reason that she was catapulted out there, shall we say, as opposed to and you know the music side, I don't, you know the vocals and notes, etc., how the music should sound. But say, opposed to a Jennifer Hudson or
oh, I
Paula,
see what you're saying.
right, right.
I,
Do
s- I think
you
I think I know what you're
people,
saying. You're saying because of how she looks and because Jennifer's don't look exactly like she looks, that's what made her a success. Is that what you're
I think
suggesting, that the
he
father
said
suggests?
that added to her success, and he invited other people to look at those that are taken by the industry, packaged by the industry, given all the musical accoutrements, for lack of a better word, music, because of their looks.
Let's get real here. Listen, I think when it comes to the recording industry, yeah, I would buy that looks over everything. Um, yeah, I'm gonna give you that. But then there's the other side of it where they want to see us, you know,
Oh my, oh my goodness, yes. I feel you already.
scarf on the head,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, and looking frumpy.
Absolutely.
And so there's I think we got two different sides going on here, as opposed to just taking us and accepting us for what we have to offer. Why does it have to be? I mean, don't forget with Give Me a Break, they made Nell, and I knew Nell Carter personally.
Oh, that's right.
But they made sure that she stayed heavy, because that's what that role in their minds was all about. So that's why I'm saying you get in one part of the industry where it's this, but very much the opposite in another part.
True, definitely. Good point. Thank you.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say with Beyonce, yeah, she is extremely talented and she's extremely beautiful, so yeah, had that been a less of a looker, would she have gone as far? It's hard to say. Come on now.
Somebody comes to mind.
Lizzo. How are you going to explain Lizzo? How are you going to explain Lizzo? So maybe
in your words.
I don't know, because maybe the climate, maybe we could say, is the climate changing? No, Lizzo's a beautiful woman, but she's a heavy woman.
Yes.
So could we say that she opened up a whole nother world to people who are heavier and made them feel good and made them feel like they were desirable, that they are desirable? It could be that for Lizzo.
Yeah, but she is very talented, but I also
think she is.
That she was sexually packaged in a different way that she was willing to do or go along with for the sake of her career. And that speaks to your other point, being over here or being over here.
Well, I think, and I'm not going to cast aspersions or put her down for any choices that she made, because ultimately we have to live with the choices that we make. Now, am I going to be at a basketball with a G-string on and that's it? No. The infamous picture, are you familiar with that photo that went around with the video? Yeah, I mean, would I ever do that? No, and I have a body. No, I would have never done that. And I'll give you case in point. Pierre Cardin, when I opened up with a bubbling brown sugar in Paris, he was in the audience, and he and his interpreter came to my dressing room and asked me, would I like to perform at his theater? Could they work it out, and would I be interested? And I said, yeah. It took about a year or so to work it out. So me and my band, we went over and we were at his theater called L'Espace Cardin. We were there for, I think, 3 weeks. Well, prior to that, he wanted me, like Goldfinger, he wanted to do my whole body in gold paint. And I would be nude. And I'm sure, knowing Pierre like I knew him, it would have been very classily done. But
you had a mama.
I had a baby. You better tell it. You better speak on that. That's exactly what was getting ready to come out of my mouth. My mother and father were still living, and I didn't know if and when they would ever see those photos. And I said, no, I can't do it. And I'm telling you, when we did have the press conference, every photographer, every bit of press from around France was there. I mean, there were hundreds of people. And he said, can you imagine this if you had been, nude and gold? And I said, I'm happy with my choice. So they asked me questions and I answered them. Now, I mean, we took photos. It was okay. We went into Paris Match. But no, I had to live. I didn't ever want my mother and father, who were highly religious, to ever see something like that.
And I have to say, I think that's some of this, I think, is generational. I look at like when we were young, we knew that entertainers wore fake eyelashes and frilly clothes, but that was for them. I think
Mhm.
this younger generation, there's no distinction. They see entertainers and they think I'm supposed to do that too. So that's, I don't know, it's just the way they, and you try, and so the thing is that they have, I don't know, there's some young women on this call, maybe they can speak to it, but I see it as a generational thing. And even though Lizzo is a heavy woman, Sierra caught just as much flack for whatever
Mm,
she didn't have on. And it had
yeah.
nothing to do with her size. It had to do with there was like you were talking about the women that you would see at the Apollo and how distinguished they were and the way people dress. We've kind of gotten away from that in entertainment, and it's almost like the shock factor is through the roof.
Well, now let me be honest here.
Okay.
As I went on in my career, um,
Thank you,
I
Charlotte.
remember I remember when Barbara Harris, who just recently passed away, who was over at Atlantic Records, she had a big impact on the recording industry and for Atlantic Records, but she recently passed away. But I remember we stayed friends down through the years because she was my chaperone when I was on Atlantic. Anyway, she called me about,
Chaperone. I don't know if they
yeah,
have chaperones anymore, but go
I don't
ahead.
think so. Yeah, I don't think so. That was a whole another time period. But anyway, she said, "Have you seen oh, what is that child's name? Chris Brown beat her up.
Rihanna.
Rihanna. Have you seen the latest photo of Rihanna? I think it is disgusting and blah 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 blah." She is carrying on. Well, she sent me a link that would take me to YouTube so I could see this, where she's going up the steps. And you could see through the transparent beaded gown that she had nothing on. But she looked good though. So I said to Barbara, Barbara, I never went that far, but I designed gowns that was split down to the navel, up to the waist, where I had to design a G string to go with it. And you didn't know whether I was wearing anything or not. I mean, I think then there's Josephine Baker. So we could go back many periods
Yeah.
and find people who were very risque in their dress. Lord knows I wore a lot of transparent things. I remember, Lord have mercy, Jesus. Ooh. I was home in Pittsburgh getting ready for church, and they used to always call on me to sing. Okay, now at the time, all I wore were pantyhose, and that was it, and the outfit. Well, I was putting on this outfit. I forget the designer, but it very close. Wait a minute. You remember? I think this is Scott Berry. Do y'all
I
remember Scott
Somebody
Berry?
else might.
Yeah,
I
I may be. I think the last name was Berry. I think it was Scott Berry from the 70s. Anyway, so my mother was watching me get dressed out of the corner of her eye, and she said, when I put on the top and the skirt, she said,
where
where's your bra? Where's your panties? Where's your? I said, this is it. I mean, you couldn't see anything because number one, all of his designs were matte jerseys, so it touched every. And she said, listen, if they call on you to sing, you better keep that coat on. Well, she was so angry with me. And they did call on me to sing, and I did keep the coat on, okay?
did you?
But no, we all had our thing.
There's a few questions. You all can come off mute just like Charlotte did if you have a question, and just feel free to ask it. There are a few questions in the chat. Somebody talked about the colorism in Hollywood. That's always been an issue, right? Do you think it's more of an issue now or less, or what is your recollection?
I don't know. I don't know where we're at today because the United States is so screwed up now in terms of politicians, and it's so divided now. It is just hard to say. Yes, every commercial, 9 times out of 10, has a Black a Black person in it or 2 or 3 Black people in it. I don't know. I don't know. Every time you think we have moved up,
Right.
then when you look at the overall picture, have we? I don't know what I honestly don't know what to think, because it touches on just not Hollywood, on
Right.
everything.
But would you say, because we know, we had the brown bag test, and I heard something else today. I had never heard of this test before. I can't believe it escapes me. So was that an issue? Did people talk about it during your early days in performing?
I didn't have any issues with that at all, because I think showbiz circles, you tend to hang with the people inside of the show that you're doing, especially if you're on the road. Um, I I got to be honest. During that time, I never ran into anything like that. Now, I will tell you this, because of my education, and I am musically very educated. And
Yeah, you teach,
when
right?
I and I'm yeah, and I teach voice and theater. When I was out on the road, I lived in Paris for 7 years. And when I would go to these different countries to do concerts or what have you, the conductors, male conductors, seemed to be bothered by the fact that I knew what I was doing. And one even sort of tested me in Germany. It was for the New Year's Eve show, and they were having their big opera singer. I was there with Bubbling Brown Sugar and Charles Aznavour. So there was the 3 of us doing the show for the New Year's Eve in Frankfurt. So at rehearsal, and I do all my arrangements, so I know exactly how they go. So what he was doing, I'll try to speak in layman's terms so that y'all can understand what I'm saying. He would start the intro off in a different way than how it was written. So when it was time for me to sing, the musicians were still playing the intro. And that happened about 3 times. He turned around, looked at me and said, "What's the matter? You don't know your music?" And it was nasty too, which I sort of thought there was going to be a problem with him. His name was Horst. When we were introduced by the gentleman who ran the Alter Oper, which is the opera house in Frankfurt, he had a limp hand when he took my hand. Beware of people whose handshake is not a sturdy one, a firm one. I don't like people who shake my hand limp. What are you hiding?
Yes.
I like a good, and his hand was as limp as they come, honey. So I turned around and I said, "I know my music quite well." I said, "You're starting this off in this key, in this time signature when it should be that." He threw the baton down and left. No, he said, within conduct the orchestra if you can. I said, "I will, and I can." He storms off, and I proceeded to get on with my rehearsal. So then the gentleman who ran the Alter Oper, he said, "Well, Vivian, you can't conduct your show tonight." I said, "No, I cannot." I said, "But I will if I have to." So then he said, "Let me talk to him." So he goes out, he talks to him, and then Horst comes back on stage, and we finished the rehearsal. But there obviously had to be something, because it was mentioned in the newspaper. Somebody translated for me, and it said that there must have been an issue with the conductor, because he wouldn't even look at Miss Reed, and had a posture of "I could care less." So what I did is, the members of Bubbling Brown Sugar came to see the show, and I asked them, I said, "Is that true?" And they said, "Oh yeah, Vivian." He was like, he didn't want to be up there. And I had the same kind of encounter in France with a conductor. But I would say, probably with the exception of those 2 things that, would obviously in other countries, I have never had that issue here, because what I tell my students, be informed. You don't have to go as far as I go in terms of musically educating yourself, but know the basics, because musicians, they really don't like when singers come on and don't know their thing, don't know their basic keys. What key are you singing this in? I don't know. Oh, let me try. More, more, more. What about that one? More. Are you kidding me? So if you want the respect of the sound engineer, the the musicians, you have to earn it by learning basic theory. You have to. These are some of the things that you have to study, just basic stuff. And most people don't want to do it.
I can imagine it's a lot of discipline, a lot of egos. And I would imagine too that there has to be, at some level, there has to be some respect for knowing your stuff.
Oh no,
There
there's a healthy respect for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, in any profession. But so who are some? I know. So I've heard you mention Germany and what are have you been around the world and what are your favorite places that
I've
you?
never been to the Middle East because I didn't care to go. But my mother and father took many vacations after he retired, and they went there, oh my God, 3, 4 times, up on a camel and the whole thing. But yeah, I've been to a lot of places. I've had,
Where are your favorite
um,
places to perform? And I saw something in your bio that you at Monaco, you kind of
yeah,
made it.
I was at the Sporting Club, which is the biggest club in Monaco, the south of France, and that's where Princess Grace, Prince actually it was Princess Grace and Prince Rainier who invited me. I was still on Broadway doing Bubbling Brown Sugar, and they were having some big thing, and so they invited me through the agent to come there to be the headlining act. So I did, and then after I started living over there, I performed several places. Pierre Cardin took me to Japan for the first time. I've had I can honestly say I've had a great career. I'm so thankful to God because this is not an easy business, and people have to know this before they come into it. You have to have a passion for it. People come into it for this, and yeah, you'll make money, but you probably won't last that long because agents and people who are auditioning you, they can tell if you're just there to make money or you're there because you really want to be there. You really want this job. So yeah, but it's not easy. I have made bad decisions that would have probably made me a superstar because I thought it was going to be taken me away from singing. I'll give you an example. Usually when you're highly visible and you're on a lot of television shows and in magazines and Time and you just name it, when you're highly visible, uh, places like NBC Studios, Universal Studios will offer you contracts so that they could build a series for you, like what you all see on TV on a nightly basis. And such thing was offered to me and through Danny Holgate, and I turned it down. And Danny thought I was crazy. And I mean, was it a dumb decision? Probably. But at that time, I was young and I didn't want anything taking me away from singing. They offered me so many thousands a week, and they were going to develop something for me, which would have been straight acting. But the thoughts of not singing, I just couldn't fathom that. And there were a few bad choices like that. But having said that, um, were those the decisions that I made on that, or the decision that I made on that, should I have said yes? Absolutely, I should have said yes. But it was done. I just couldn't keep thinking about that, and having regrets about that because you have to move on. But in spite of that, I think, and other bad decisions, I had a great career. I had a career that people just dream about. There are oh my God, there's so many talented people. I'm just going to stick with African Americans. Lord have mercy, ladies. I don't know if it's a gentleman on, but there are just so many talented people in this country that you will never hear, you will never see, because they just don't have the resources. I am talking about singers that would make you say, Lord, have mercy.
Right.
But they will never get to first base.
Yeah.
And it's sad because they want it, but they just don't either have the means, or you have to be at the right place at the right time. So when you are able to jump over those hurdles, and you can say, now that I'm very much in my senior years, wow, look at my body of work.
Yeah.
Look what I was able to accomplish. I thank God, even though the dumbass decisions that I made, but I was able to still have a great career monetarily and in every other way, press, everything. It gave me
You're about to
everything.
get a Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lifetime. Is this live?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Is this live?
That's absolutely
Yes.
phenomenal.
Oh, okay. Well then, the
Congratulations.
lifetime. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I've received a few others, but this one is special because the MAC Awards govern cabaret. I've gotten Lifetime Achievement Awards for theater, but this governs cabaret. And it will be at the Symphony Space tomorrow at 7 p.m., the 15th of April. And so while I'm talking about this, I should say something about my health, what has happened, because they had to make arrangements to accommodate me tomorrow. Well, about 2 years ago, in the tail end of 21, I successfully did Blues in the Night, got 3 awards, one for Best Actress in a Musical, one for Best Performance, and one for Ensemble. Came back to New York, everything was good, health was good. Then, about the 3rd week in, I think it was January, I developed this cough, but it was unlike an acid reflux cough, which a lot of singers deal with. This was different. There was something in my throat that kept making me cough, and the cough got worse and worse and worse until I could not breathe. I was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance where I stayed for a little under 2 weeks. And when all was said and done, I will be on oxygen for the rest of my life. So
It's okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Take your time.
Take your time.
So my career, I knew something was different in the hospital because I could feel this thing in my throat that if I took a deep enough breath, I would start coughing. So I said to the doctors, to the nurses, I said, this can't be happening. You don't understand. I'm a singer. I'm not your ordinary singer. God gave me a great voice. This cannot be happening to me. I mean, I'm going to get better. It was that. And a lot of the doctors, a lot of nurses went to YouTube and watched videos. They would come in the next day and say, oh my God, we hope that you can, come out of this. But once you're on oxygen for a period of time, the chances of you getting off of it is very slim. My lungs are, I think, 30 to 40% scarred. We don't know what happened. We don't know. I never had COVID. I never had any of those things. And I can tell you that once I got out of the hospital, the oxygen, I mean, I have it, it's right over there. When I coughed a while ago, I had to really suppress it because what can happen if I have to be careful in just talking, doing this, not to take too deep a breath, because if I take too deep a breath, I will have a coughing attack that can last a few minutes. And I keep my my cough drops. They're mentholated, which normally are not good for singers, but it seems to relax the airway because my airway has narrowed. So can I still sing? Yes, I can still hit fabulous notes. What I cannot do because of lack of lung capacity, I cannot sing more than a few notes together or a phrase or two. If I try to do that, I will go into a coughing attack. So you can't do that. There's no way you can go on stage. So they wanted me to sing tomorrow. So I told the producer to give me a call. I explained to her what was going on. And, she felt really bad about that. So I asked her, would it be okay for me to either have one of my students or someone that I was mentoring to sing in my stead? And they said, absolutely. So, you know how when they give you the award, you come up from the audience, oh, no. All I got to do is go up one step. I would be totally out of breath. So the oxygen, I have three things here. I have the big concentrator, which is what you would use in your apartment, which I have a 2-bedroom, so it's a 50-footer. But if I'm still and I'm not too excited, I don't get too excited, then I can be without the oxygen for a while, like talking to you. But if I start to really laugh like I normally laugh, Helen, the way I normally am, then no, we would have stopped this probably when the interview first started. So I have to be very careful about the kind of energy I expend and that kind of thing. And then I have the portable, which I go out with, and I cannot go out without it. I can't go more than a few feet. So what did this do to me mentally? I went into a dark place where I didn't want to live.
I can imagine.
I did not want to live. And Black folks in general, we don't think about suicide. That's just so not our thing. But I can tell you, and I stayed in that dark place for about 4 or 5 months. And my friends said, Vivian, you got to find that light.
Yeah.
That light. One person said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe if you can't be on the stage, you can be near it. Mm-hmm. And so I was praying every day and asking God to give me the strength. And I'm in a much better place now. I got to tell you, though, there are times where I will stop cold and say, how the hell did this happen to me? Because I wanted to be that performer who was going into her 80s and 90s, still being able to sing, because I can still sing my butt off, but I don't have the air. Just don't have the air. So I'll be presenting some very talented young people in a show at the Green Room where you saw me, Helen. And the show is called, speaking of performance, the show is called Don't Just Stand There, Perform. And all of these young people in the show are all fabulous performers because I trained them. They wouldn't hit that stage if they weren't. So I'm trying to just put all of my energies now into help to train young people and get them ready for this business.
It's
And
your new
that's a
calling. Go ahead.
phenomenal thing. And
Hmm.
plus, that's a phenomenal thing because so many people would have just possibly become a recluse. So it shows your strength, that innate strength of yours to, come up and say, well, if I can't do that, I'm going to give this gift to other people. I'm
Yeah.
going to help them be the best that they can be. And I have to tell you, I would have never dreamed that you had any uh, anything because you're so positive and you look radiant,
Oh, thank
and
you.
I'm just dumbfounded. And I feel like it's said too often, but it's a real blessing for me to have witnessed your story today.
Well, thank you very much. And you speak about becoming a recluse. I did. I became one there for those, I would say 4 to 6 months. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't want anybody to come here. It was just me. It would be me and the television. I could not even listen to radio. I couldn't watch any videos because I would be reminded of what I could not do when I would hear other wonderful singers. So I removed myself from all of that. I would just watch television. And then my friend said, Vivian, this is ridiculous. You have to have company where we have to come and visit you, even if it's just one person at a time. Now, what I cannot do, and my students understand this, if they have been around anybody with COVID, or someone's had a cold, or they themselves are getting a cold or just getting over a cold, they have to cancel because my immune system is so weak now in the lungs that if I do catch a cold, I could die. So it's very fragile. And so they've been great. My friends come and they will cancel at the last minute and say, Vivian, you know what? Somebody just called and told me they have COVID, and I just saw that person last night, and so they don't come. So, and that's fine with me. So I've adjusted my life. But thank you so much for those words. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the resilience that you have and your talent, is like Charlotte said, your talent is now to share and
Yeah.
instill in others. So I love it. So tomorrow is the big night. Uh,
Tomorrow's the big night for the award, and they're going to have a chair just inside the wings. So when they call my name, she said there'll be a podium on either side of the stage, and all I have to do is just walk a couple feet to the podium. And I am definitely going to announce because many of those people in the audience I have done, shows with. And so I'm going to make an announcement about my health, and then I'll introduce the young man who will be singing in my stead, and he is fabulous. His name is Christian Mark Gibbs. He is great, and so I'm happy to be affording him the opportunity to sing in front of these professionals.
yeah, somebody put in the chats, your body of work is your legacy, but your purpose now has shifted to mentoring and sharing the knowledge with the
Yeah.
next generation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And then, yeah, it is that. And also, I really only want to deal with young people who want it because I get an occasional student, you can just tell they don't want it. So they don't do the work, they don't do what's asked of them. And I will say to them, listen, if you don't want this, then I don't want you here. I don't want you in my studio
Right.
because you don't know what's out there. There's a lot of great talent out there,
Right.
and you won't get arrested. You have to go into that audition, number one, with all of the confidence you can muster. Never
Right.
cocky, but confidence.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, the chances of you even getting a call back go down to zero. So it's a waste of my time if you don't want it.
So singing is your passion, but you've done acting as well. And
Oh God, yes.
when I was reading, who were you on One Life to Live? Because I sure ran home from school every day and saw One Life to
I
Live in
was
General Hospital.
I was on there twice, and I played the girlfriend. Oh Lord, we're going back to the 70s. I
Yes.
played the girlfriend I think he was a doctor. I played his girlfriend who was always on the road, and I was in town, and I think I was on there twice, 2 or 3 times. And I think one of the times I sang to him, "This time we almost made the pieces fit," something like that, didn't we? Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
that
saw
was
that.
fun.
Yeah. So what are the other big things you did in acting that really stick out for you?
Um, Plays. I remember doing my first play. It was called Blues for an Alabama Sky at the Cleveland Playhouse. And this was the first time not having a piano, bass, and drum around me. Lord, I was petrified because straight acting is straight. And I was used to music, acting within that, acting, doing lines within a musical. But I had a great director, and he asked me directly to do it. And it was a learning curve. That was years ago at the Cleveland Playhouse. And I didn't know at that particular time that actors, they kind of go through this ritual. Well, it's not really a ritual, but there are certain things like what we do as singers when we warm up before singing, they go through their own thing too. But when he put us in a circle and everybody was talking about their character and their this, I had never done anything because you normally kind of do something like that, but different in musicals. But this was like, I had never done anything like that before. So when it got to me, he said, "So Vivian, what do you feel about this? Or what do you feel about that?" And I'm sitting there all looking stupid. And then one time he came onto the set and we were having a run through, and he said, "So where's your character coming from?" I said, "I'm coming from the dressing room." He said, "Vivian,
He wanted
no,
you to say.
you gotta have a backstory for
Yeah.
everything that you do as an actress, as an actor. You have to have a backstory, even if you get sides or like with dialogue on it, and they call them sides in the industry." And he said, "And if you don't have the benefit of the script, then you have to, based on those sides, what you're reading, you have to create a backstory so that whatever choices you make will be believable." It was a learning curve. Now, I got good reviews, but I'm telling you, he embarrassed me more than a couple times. And he said, "Yes, I could have taken you aside, Vivian, and told you, okay, this is what we do. You need to be prepared." He said, "But I need to, because I know you, Vivian, I needed to embarrass you so that you would hop to it." And that's exactly what I did.
Right.
I never, ever forgot that. It was my very first play, Blues for an Alabama Sky. And from then on, I knew when I would get into these different straight acting pieces, I knew what I had to do. I always fleshed that character out. When it came time, when we were in the circle, and it was time for me to talk about that character or whatever, I was ready,
Right.
you know? So yeah, he was a
Yeah.
great director. Yeah.
A great director, a great teacher, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So I don't know. Let me see. Does anybody on here have any questions? I'm looking through the chat. Somebody asked, "What was your impression of Whitney Houston?" That's a good one.
Oh Lord, don't even get me
Yeah,
started.
met her.
Lord, don't get me started.
Get
Uh,
started, get started.
I, she was my favorite singer. God gave her a gift. Oh Lord. I mean, that woman's voice. Someone took me to see UNICEF, and I think her mother, she was the guest, the headliner for the concert. United Negro College Fund, yeah. And she was singing Tomorrow the Sun Will Come Out. So she asked her daughter, who was 17 at the time, to come forward and sing one of the verses. When that girl opened up her mouth, I leaned over whoever was sitting next to me and I said, she's going to be a huge star, because I saw it. The only thing, and I mean, I know Clive Davis because when I was on Epic Records, you know, he was up over me. But the only thing, and Clive went over to Atlantic Records, that I did not like was he made sure that she had a great first album. But that's all he took care of. He didn't take care of production when she went out on tour. He didn't take care of sort of like what Barry did at Motown. That was like a factory. You didn't hit that road until your ass was ready.
Right.
He didn't do that with her. He made sure she had a great album and then backed off. So if you remember, the first tour, might even been the first two tours, got horrible reviews because all she was doing was just standing there singing.
Yeah.
There was no production value. And people paying the amount of money that they pay to see these shows, which was even a lot back then, but it's even out of question now, they want to see something. So she got a string of bad reviews. But of course, as the years passed, oh my God, she blossomed into quite the incredible performer and entertainer. Now, what do I think about what happened to her? Years ago, when I was a kid, I used to smoke cigarettes. But I knew if I was going to be a singer, I would have to give it up. So I gave it up. Let me put it to you this way. My gift from God was more important than the addiction that I had with cigarettes. Her addiction was more important than her gift from God.
Yeah,
that's the only way I could answer that. Yeah. And somebody said, would you be able to help her? Would you have been able to help her? I don't know if Whitney was ready to listen to anyone.
She didn't listen to her mom, her dad.
Yeah. I mean, the body, unfortunately for me, scarring of the lungs is not reversible. You just can't reverse it. But even still, the body is a miraculous vessel. And vocal folds, if you give it sufficient rest and stop those addictions that are posing a problem for your singing. Now, what are we calling a sufficient amount of time of rest? I would probably say where Whitney was at, if she had been under my guidance, she would have been living with me, no talking, definitely no singing, no drugs, no alcohol, no nothing. And that would have probably gone on for about a year. And her vocal folds probably would have healed. And then you start with the lessons to strengthen chords again. But unless you're willing to give that up, because I mean, look at the people that I'm sure most of you know with addiction. You first have to be true to yourself and recognize that you do have an addiction.
Right.
Because if you can't, really, basically, no one can help you. You know, a lot of people used to say Bobby Brown didn't do nothing to her. They were both enablers, but she was on that road before Bobby Brown.
She was.
She's on the road before Bobby.
Yes.
One could almost say she brought him down.
Well, that's what they say around here. I live
Yeah.
close to
Yeah.
where they were, so that's what they
Mhm.
say around here.
But what a
Um,
waste! What a waste of a talent. That's all I can say. I couldn't listen to her for, oh God, it was a long time because I would just start crying. I just
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And then when it was apparent that her voice was going, I just would not listen. How did we get here?
Yeah.
You know,
She definitely had a gift, man. I tell you.
yes.
What a gift. What a gift. I never saw her in concert though. Miss Grimsley, you have a question? Miss Grimsley? Go ahead. Hello, Miss Grimsley? Nicole? I'm not sure. She turned off her. You're muted, Nicole.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I have a question. I have comments. Thank you, Miss Reed. This is fabulous. Um,
Oh,
a couple of things. I was the one that made the comment because I heard Mr. Knowles mention that in the beginning of Destiny's Child, he had Kelly Rowland as one
mhm.
of the lead singers, or if not the lead singer, but he did not feel as though she would go as far as Beyonce because of the colorism issue.
Mm.
So that was me. The other thing I thought about is I'm noticing Ashanti. Are you from Ashanti, the R&B singer?
They
She
used to do stuff with Ludacris, or is this
yeah,
another one? This is another one. Ashanti, wasn't that?
she's dating this R&B. She's like having a resurgence in her career. She's dating a rapper named Nelly, and
Nelly, yeah, okay. I think I know who you're talking about. Mhm.
okay. So it was shared that she was the one that sang most of Jennifer Lopez's vocals. And I was wondering, does this happen often? And she was one of the fortunate ones. Like it seems like she's having a resurgence in her career. So she's getting a second chance. But I was thinking, what if she didn't have this opportunity? It would have been very unfortunate and sad that we wouldn't have known that it was her beautiful voice and not Jennifer Lopez. So,
Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm not sure. Has that been proven?
uh,
There's been a lot on Jennifer, and it seems as though a lot of her vocals were not done by her. But in general,
Really?
does that yeah, she's catching a
States
lot of
of
hell.
Nelly Vanelli, right? Was it Nelly
Oh my
Vanelli?
God, Milli Vanilli, what something like that. That was,
That-
oh God, that was a mess.
That was
That
but
was
it,
a
but
mess.
but does that how often? Because even with every now that wasn't their voice. That remember they had the ladies out front, but it was really what were the sisters that used to sing with Sylvester? So
what
how
am I
often does
talking
that?
about?
Yeah,
What were 2 tons of fun? What are two
uh,
tons of fun?
No, but
yeah,
they can really, but yeah, but they can really sing.
Yes, they
right. But
can.
the person that they had on the videos and all was not those ladies. Those
Oh, I
ladies
know
came
who
out.
you're talking about. Right, right, right.
They came
But
out
it
with
was, but it was Martha Washington and Azura's voice.
Yes,
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 Whoa, I didn't know that.
yeah,
yes, yeah.
right.
Because I've done shows with Martha Washington. I can tell you,
Oh yeah,
girl can sing, honey.
yeah.
She can sing. She can
So is
sing.
that
Is it
common?
done?
Is that common
I
in the industry that we're seeing the lips move, but it's not really the person, or you don't know?
I really, I honestly don't know. I know that many of the singers, when they go out, especially if they do television, at least back in the 70s, they used to have to because I've had to lip sync if I'm in the middle of a swimming pool and they're doing the video, and they can't run electronics out there. So, but in terms of using other people's voices, it might be, I think what bothers me equally is when famous artists are given credit for having written something that was written by somebody else, and they don't get any credit for it at all. That bothers me a lot.
Absolutely.
I can
That
imagine
bothers
that.
me a lot. Yeah, because that's so unfair. You know, they reap the benefits of having supposedly to be this great composer when in fact they haven't written anything. You know, so that bothers me. But Helen, to answer your question, it might go on a lot, but I don't know.
So if
I just,
somebody had asked you, if somebody had asked you to use your voice and let it come out of my mouth, would you have agreed to do that, or would you have said no?
no, I definitely would not have done that.
Okay.
Mm-mm. No, I personally would not have done that.
Nicole,
Mm-mm.
just jump right in. You don't have to raise your hand. Go ahead, Nicole. Did you
Mhm.
have another? Did you have another question?
Do. I was also wondering, what are your thoughts on like Beyonce entering the country, country genre, and like how she's getting like a lot of backlash. There's racism surrounding that as well, even though we know that country music had African American artists or Black artists from the very inception.
Okay, but
Um,
what's the backlash? What is she getting, and from whom is she getting it?
well, for one example, is a nursing student, I think from Indiana University, made a video that went very viral on TikTok and Instagram, where she said that Beyonce should not be in country music because she's Black.
Right.
Um, so
She's
that,
regretting that. But also you have some of the
Listen.
country stations refuse to play her music. And it still blew
Oh,
up. Even
really?
even oh yeah, that was a big thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen.
You also have one of the guys, the blonde-haired guys from the
Patrick
Dukes of
Swayze.
Hazzard,
The Dukes
right?
of Hazzard? Oh, really?
He's from
He,
New Jersey.
what did he do? He compared her voice to a dog peeing. Was that right? It was
I don't
something
know.
so obscene.
Yeah, they really
Um,
got bent out of shape over her entering into the country genre. Even though what's the sister? I put it on our Facebook page, who was the black woman who's noted long ago for doing the first black woman to do country.
And
But
what was
anyway,
the
go
other? The
ahead.
black guy, Charlie Pride?
Charlie
Charlie
Pride,
Pride,
Charlie
of
Hmm.
Pride,
course, of
Charlie
course.
Hmm.
Pride. So,
Listen,
And
if
and
Beyonce,
Darren, what's his name? The guy from Darren something his name is.
oh
But go
yeah,
ahead.
from Hootie and the Blowfish, right? Yeah.
to me, if Beyonce did not look the way she looks, did not sing the way she sings, I doubt seriously if there would be that much hoopla over it.
I
It's
don't
like,
know. I
I
think
don't,
that
and where is it on the charts?
yeah, despite all that, it
Where
still
is
kept
it on the
climbing.
charts?
Yeah, despite that, they couldn't hold her down.
Is it going to climb?
Despite that,
Has it reached number one, or do you think it
I
will?
have no
I think it
idea, but
did.
it's
It
I
done
think
has,
well.
it
I
Does
has
think
reached
anybody
it
know?
was number one on
the
the
first
Billboard.
black woman to be number one.
Listen, I say, go ahead, Beyonce.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I say. Let me tell you something. Let's
yeah.
deal with my students. Okay, I've been with Marymount for 8 years. Marymount Manhattan College, primarily white. They, I've had a couple black students. They will come in here, and I know their voices. I know their voices well. There's one girl come in here, and she said, "Okay, Vivian, today I think I'm gonna sing, and I'm telling you, I'm not going from the Dream Girls."
Oh
I
no.
said, not in this lifetime. I said, what you trying to do? Send your vocal cords to intensive care? I said, are you crazy? I said, you don't have the kind of vocal folds that can deliver that kind of song. If you want to hurry up and really cause your vocal folds to start hemorrhaging, try singing that song. So I cut it off. I cut it off. Now, if they're capable, and by the time when they ask me, I almost know from day one when they start doing exercises. And that doesn't mean that she couldn't sing. She could sing, but she didn't have that kind of power to sing. I'm telling you what I'm telling you I'm not going. Are you kidding me? You have to have vocal folds of steel. Because
Absolutely.
that song and songs like Listen, these songs are no joke, and many of Whitney Houston's songs. Okay, so I had a couple of them. So recently, this white girl, she came in, and I had picked her because we have placement exams, and I usually try to pick the best singers. So now this is her first time singing for me in person. So she says, after we finish, going over the scales and stuff, she said, so I'm gonna sing something. I probably should not be singing this song. She said, but I'm gonna sing it because I really love singing it. I said, okay, what's the song? She said, I'm Here from The Color Purple by Cynthia Erivo. So, and I don't know, I'm thinking of them two black girls that came in here talking about, I'm telling you, I'm not going. No, you ain't going. You ain't going nowhere with that song. But I can't say that to her. She's a brand new student. So as I'm sitting down to go watch her, I'm saying to myself, oh, Lord, here we go. Here we go. But I try not to let it show on my face. Let me tell you something. Baby, that girl saying, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm here, as good as Cynthia Erivo, and then sang it her way. I said, oh my God. I mean, she definitely has a gift.
Wow.
So then I said to her, why do you say you should not be singing that song? She said, because it comes from a Black musical. I said, so what? I said, unless it is lyric specific, like I'm a Black woman. Oh, I said, unless it's specific.
Right.
I said, as a Black woman, I sing white material all the time. We all do. I said, you can sing anything. I said, where are you getting this from? And she said that teachers over at the school said, don't ever sing something from a Black show because they will not give you the job. They will not do this. They will not. So I called up a couple of my professional friends who've been to Broadway a gazillion times. And I said to them, I said, listen, if you ever heard a white girl sing I'm Here or whatever, that's typically from a Black musical, how would you feel about that? They said, what do you mean, Vivian? It was so, excuse me, let me get excuse me 1 second.
Do your thing. I can see somebody, for those of you who are listening, I can see people saying that.
And he said, he just said, Vivian, I don't care just as long as they do it. I mean, as long as they do a good job, and as long as what I said, it's not lyric specific. So I don't know. I think people have their hangups about so many things that are just not important. I say if Beyonce wants to do a country song, and I play the whole thing, I'll have Alexa play the whole thing through the music, and I loved it. So I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, that was people just feeling like we shouldn't. And I just put in the chats the woman who was noted many years ago, Linda Martell, and Beyonce is giving her a shout out and reviving even her her people knowing who she is, recognition. Lola, you had a question for Miss Vivian?
Thank you so much, Ms. Reed. This has been really interesting. I just wanted to ask your what you think about Diana Ross's career, because we were talking about people who don't have great voices. I mean, I don't think a voice that great.
She wasn't as strong as in the
no, she's
in the Supreme. That's why I thought of too, Lola.
Yeah,
she would not be considered one of the great voices of our time. She's a stylist. But let me tell you where I give her mad props. That whole Barry Gordy thing was just ingenious, how they got their artists together in terms of performance, in terms of dress, in terms of everything. I went to see Diana Ross and she was the Supremes, that kind of bubblegum stuff, that was never my thing. But I liked her when she went on her own, but when she branched out, and she was at the Waldorf Astoria. In fact, the Waldorf may be one of the first clubs where she did her first solo act. I'm not sure, but it's an act that I will never forget. Let me tell you, she had about No, Lord, that is so long ago. But I would say a minimum of 7 changes, gown changes. And she had a screen on the stage, a screen. She would sing whole songs or the majority of the song until she was fully dressed in the next costume. You never heard her voice waver. You never heard this. And that was way before we pre-recorded music and all of that. They weren't really, I don't know how she did it, but even then, she was a showman. She was a show lady. I mean, you knew whether you liked her kind of music or not, you knew that when you spent your money to go see Diana Ross, you were going to see a show. You were going to see performance. And this is what has kept Diana diva that she is all of these years without even having a hit record. Yes. People still flock to go see her because, and see, now I'm gonna start preaching up in here, because she takes the time to make sure that she is gowned beautifully, coiffed beautifully, all of the things that so many artists don't do. They don't sit down with their, and this is what I'm going to say tomorrow night too, it might hurt a few people's feelings. I get so sick and tired of going to see, or when I did, I don't go anymore, but going to see these shows where there is no thought put into the arrangement. You just gonna sing it like the other person sang it. Wrong. That's number one mistake 101. Don't copy, because you probably ain't gonna do it as well as the first person. So why don't you just change it so that you will take their mind off the person who originally did it? Okay.
Like Luther could do that better than anybody.
Oh, baby, better than anybody.
You sing with Luther, you're like, why do I know the words? Better somebody else already did
than anybody. And to me, artists, both black and white, I don't care what your ethnic thing is, they just don't put in the quality time of sitting down. How can I sing this song that is different yet keeping the integrity of the piece? They don't take the time about their dress. No, you don't have to be in a gown, but for God's sakes, take the time to come up with a style that works for you. And then you have the Diana Rosses. Oh, wait a minute now. Let's go white. Taylor Swift, baby.
I don't know that I've ever heard a Taylor Swift song. I don't know if I
doesn't matter. Does not matter. Baby, I watched that special, her show.
Eras tour, the Eras tour.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. The attention to detail. Does she have a great voice? No. But when she talks to her audience, number one, she's so grateful for them having been with her those years, starting when she was a teenager or a baby, and just staying with her. She makes you feel like there's so much.
What do they call them? Swifties or something they call them.
I mean, to be working stadiums of this size, and she covers every part of the stage. It was just, it's 3 hours, it's long. So I stopped maybe 2 or 3 times, went and got something to eat. I'm sure she does that with the audiences too. But there was not one dull moment. Earth, Wind and Fire. When I went to see them eons ago, production value. The Commodores, production value. Tina Turner, production value. So this is why Diana Ross has survived without having hits.
I saw Diana Ross pre-COVID, and she changed clothes probably 5, 6 times. She was very engaged with the audience. Yeah, at Newark, if anybody was there.
When she sang in the rain in New York.
Yes, brilliant.
That's Lola.
Hard worker. Yeah, she just And my next question is about your studio. Do you give private lessons in your And
Mhm.
where's your studio?
Are we
It's
ever
in
too,
it's
are
in
we ever,
Manhattan.
are we ever too old for voice lessons?
Well, I think if
Yeah.
I won't take someone because I give a consultation first, and they have to have some kind of voice. I've had them come in here like this one. Lord have mercy. I went up to this church to sing, a well-known church in Harlem, to sing. I was guest soloist. And what did I sing? Either It Was Well With My Soul or His Eyes on the Sparrow. I think it was His Eyes on the Sparrow. Anyway, so when I finished, they had a dinner upstairs and everything. It was nice. It was wonderful. And so this woman came over to me and she says, Miss Reed, you know, I used to sing. I was an opera singer. And I would like to, get back to that. And I need a refresher course. And I would like to take a few lessons with you. So we didn't exchange, but I gave her my number. So she called and she arranges for this lesson time. Oh, dearly beloved. She came here. I don't even know where to begin. First of all, I am classically trained. They thought I was going to be the next Leontine Price. I was no joke. Okay, let's just be clear. She don't know that. She probably knows that I went to Juilliard, but that's all she knows. She comes in here. It was obvious that she wasn't breathing from the diaphragm. Anybody who has ever studied classical music, that's the first thing we're taught. She could not hold a note past 2 or 3 beats without running out of air. And her tone suggested that she never, ever sang classical music. So I endured this, or my ears endured it, for about 10 minutes, and I could take no more. I said, I don't remember what her name was, but I said to her, I said, listen, sweetheart, you don't have to pay me. I said, I'm going to stop this right now. I said, it's impossible for me to believe that you were ever a classical singer. I said, because you don't fit the bill. Even though I haven't sung classical music in years, I said, but the technique is still there. I can turn it on and off. I said, you can't even hold a sustained line for more than 2 or 3 beats. Then your tone. And let's talk about her tone. Not only did it suggest that she was not ever a classical singer, it was not even a pleasant tone that anybody would want to hear. So she seemed a little perturbed, but I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to help you as much as I can. And there was just no way I was taking her on. So I said all that to say that I will do a consultation to see if you even have an ear. An ear means when you hear a note, are you going to sing that note? Or like, okay, an example, the note might be E, and then you sing no, I sing E, no. You don't have an ear because you're singing a different note than I gave you. So right away, that tells me you don't have an ear. And then I listen to the tone. It doesn't matter that you've ever studied. And it really doesn't matter how old you are. You could have a wonderful voice and just never have the time. Maybe you were raising kids and you wanted to have a family and you just kind of want to get back into it, but your voice could still be there. That's not what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Right.
Let me ask you something. I have some friends like you also who are professional singers, and they are usually not impressed with the people that we love on American Idol and those kinds of shows. And they're like, these people. So I know that, what is your feeling on that? Do you watch that and tend to see people who really have talent, or just, I don't know, they're never impressed?
No, I'm not going to say that because I watched American Idol for several seasons and then I just stopped because I just lost interest. I've also watched The Voice. My all-time favorite from American Idol would probably be Kelly Clarkson, because there was no style that she was the first winner. There was no style that they gave her that she didn't master.
That's true.
I mean, not R&B, Theater was I don't think she had ever done. They gave her a theater piece. She had all the things right in place. Pop, everything they gave her week after week, she nailed it. The thing with Jennifer, people got upset with Simon because they felt he was responsible for her being what do you call it, cast off or whatever, or dropped because of the voting.
Yes.
But what he said was actually definitely spot on. He said to her, I'm paraphrasing, Jennifer has a huge voice. Now she is getting better, but she ain't quite arrived yet. Jennifer, at that particular time, had this gigantic voice, and everything was loud. Everything. Everything was big. Everything. You can't be the consummate singer and do that. Some of your biggest and most poignant moments on stage are the soft moments. And Simon said, you have to learn, Jennifer, to control your huge voice. You have to learn this. Next week, she was voted off and they got mad at him, but he was spot on. Today, is she better? Yes, but she still needs to keep refining that.
Yeah.
She still needs to keep refining that. As far as Fantasia is concerned, I love Fantasia. Did she do for me in The Color Purple what Cynthia Erivo did for me? Absolutely not. Cynthia Erivo, and I saw The Color Purple on Broadway with her. Have you all ever seen this woman in person? Cynthia Erivo?
But I
saw it with Fantasia.
She's my favorite
baby. Fantasia is your favorite singer?
No, Cynthia Erivo.
Baby,
I saw her in J-Pack. I saw her in J-Pack. She's
my God from Zion.
She's a freak of nature.
Oh Lord, this woman.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about when she depicted the life of Aretha Franklin.
Yes, that's the one. Jennifer.
Let me tell you why. Like, I think maybe the story and all of that might have been better in Jennifer's, but in terms of the two, give me Cynthia Erivo. Let me tell you why. Cynthia, number one, how many times have you seen people depict a very famous singer or portray a famous singer, but they weren't quite making it, and you kind of wished you had the original? With Cynthia, even though she was doing a different take on Aretha's songs, there was not one time where I said, Lord, let me listen to Aretha. Not one time. And she was doing her way. She was doing Aretha's songs her way. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
So then fire, and you're like, where have you been all my life? She just any song.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. So let's get back to Miss Fantasia. So when I saw The Color Purple on television, and I'm here, it was too Fantasia. The arms flailing and her dipping, and instead of just really dealing with what that song is all about, I was a little disappointed. And I like Fantasia, but everything cannot be a gospel feast.
That's true.
That is so true.
And see, this is the difference when you talk about a Kelly Clarkson. I think when a singer, I think to have a great career in this business is when you can fit into whatever that situation is. So, okay, you can sing jazz, but you've had a hit singing R&B. But the show that you're about to go in is a jazz show. So now you don't have this hit in R&B, so you're trying to bring that influence into the jazz show. Why? Why? That's telling me that you're not capable of changing genres and be authentic in that genre when you're quite capable of doing it. So why are you using this influence over here when you've been cast for this show over here? Right. So I would like to see Fantasia take more risk. Everything can't be about the gospel interpretation. I'm raised in the Baptist church. Everything can't be about that.
Right. That's true.
And I think this is why probably Cynthia with that song excels. Because oh my God, her singing "I'm Here," oh
Also
Lord.
trained. She's trained. She's a trained actress. I think that makes a difference.
Well, wait a minute now. You know what? Fantasia I thought was pretty good. And did you like her in the movie? Or you
I
didn't?
didn't watch the movie, but I had damn near a front row seat when she was on Broadway doing
What did you
cover.
think? What did you think?
I was very taken with her. I thought she did
Yeah.
fine.
I
But
think
Yeah,
I
I,
thought
I have a layman's ear. You have an artist's ear. So, but
no, but
I,
you're still audience. You're still
oh,
audience.
I loved her. I
You're
loved
still
her.
audience.
Yeah.
You're still
So,
an audience.
but I hear what you're saying, and people will say that also about Patty. Patty's too loud, and I don't want to. It's too loud. I want to hear that. So it's like, and like you were saying with her earlier, on my own, it just, it was
No, I
very.
gotta agree with them on Patty though.
It was measured.
Yeah, I know, and I know Patty. I gotta agree with them on that because
Yeah.
everything doesn't call for that. Every show doesn't call for that. And I think there's a time and place. Patty came to see me in when I opened for Sammy Davis and at the Latin Casino in Cherry Hill. So she
Remember
said
that?
to me,
Half these people on this call are probably not. Some of them are from South Jersey, so we grew up right near the Latin
okay, so
Casino.
you know Cherry Hill.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Latin, I think that is that club still there? I think that club has
Long,
been
long,
gone.
long, long gone.
Oh, okay. Well, I opened up for Sammy Davis. And so when Patty came backstage, she was with her then husband, Olmsted, I think, or something like that, and her son. Anyway, she said, she said, how can you stand it? And I said, what are you talking about? She said, nobody talks back in the audience. I said, Patty, every show you do ain't gonna be like in church. Say it, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus. We all like that. When I go to
Aretha Franklin.
huh?
I would see Aretha Franklin every summer. I mean, there were some people I saw every summer. Aretha was one of them.
Yeah.
And Aretha gave a very different show. When she was performing for Black audiences,
Mm-hmm.
it was very spirited. The audience
Yeah,
was
of course.
and but it seemed like when she did the other shows, because she
Mhm.
was a legend, those people would have all the front row seats. All of us were rocking in the back. We were like nowhere. And she just gave a show, and she got off the stage, and that was that. I think when I saw her in Philly, like at the Man or something like that, where it's 99% Black people, she was much more engaged, and it was just a
Well,
different
yeah,
show.
but you have
I
to
wanted
understand.
to go see her in those kinds of venues. I wanted to see her with a Black audience because I wanted that.
Okay, but you know what? The thing is, you cut yourself short when all you want to do with Black audiences. Okay, let's talk about Patty. Okay, let me just be real here. Olmsted invited some of her closest friends from New York. Clap that you find on some records. So they have machines to do it now. But when that clap sound first started in R&B music and dance music, they were live claps. That's how you would achieve that. So Olmsted invited a few of us down to Philadelphia. Gail Mullenhuff was doing something on Patty, and to do some live claps. So on the way, he said, Vivian, I need you to talk to Patty. I said, about what? And they said that someone, I think it was your arms, was it your arms too short, the box of God? Yeah, had called and wanted her to do the musical. And she didn't want to do it. He said, Vivian, you work all the time. Because I could work white rooms. Most of the rooms were white, Black rooms occasionally, but I worked. They couldn't get her into Vegas. Vegas wouldn't take Patty because I guess the crawling on the floor and the throwing of the shoes. And the Vegas audience is very middle America kind of, and they probably didn't know any of her songs back then at that time. And he couldn't get her into there. So they had just purchased this property. I don't even know if they still have that house. Big house in outskirts of Philadelphia.
They're divorced now. So.
Yeah, oh, I know they've been divorced. Yeah, I knew that. But I'm talking about the property. They probably sold that. There was this big house, and they were going to renovate it and everything. So she's giving me a tour of the house. And he said, let her bring it up. So she says, I got a call and they're asking me about doing Your Arms Too Short to Box with God. And I said, so do it. No, that's your thing. That's your thing. I said, when was your last hit record? And she kind of looked at me, because what she was doing at the time is she would come to Lincoln Center, do a show, as I'm sure she was doing in all of the cities. This is when she went off on her own. And they would always be sold out and everything, but nothing much that Armstead wanted to happen was happening. So when she came into the dressing room and said, how can you do it? And I said, do what? She said, well, there's nobody, talking back to you. And I said, Patty, it's a light switch. You deal with the audience that you're dealing with. Yeah. In front of an all-white audience, especially they're older, they're not going to be talking back to you like they would as if we were in church, or if it was an all-black. It's not going to happen. So you can't gauge what you give back to an audience based solely on that. You still have to be invested in your performance, whether you're getting that or not, because these people have paid to see you sing. And I understand, Helen, what you're saying. There's a whole nother culture. When it's us in an audience, that audience is all Black. There is nothing like it. But that can't be the only thing. That's not.
I mean, she would still give a good show. I mean, but that was Aretha. Aretha was Aretha, right? But as an audience member, I just said, okay, so I won't see her here anymore. I'll wait till she's somewhere I know.
But I get it. But the thing is, when we finished talking, when she was giving me the tour of the house, I told her, you should do it. This is something you've never done. You've not done theater. Do it. So she did it. And as far as I know, she's never looked back since she did Your Arms Too Short to Box with God. She has never looked back. Her career did this. So
that's the yeah.
You gotta be flexible. What'd you say, Lola?
The only way to cross over, you have to be able to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what, I try to, when I'm coaching these people, to tell them, you can't be a one-trick pony. Be the consummate. Okay, if theater is not, because these are mostly theater majors, if theater is not happening, know what nightclubs are like. The technique is slightly different, because you got to deal with an audience. You can't stand in front of a cabaret audience and pretend like they don't exist. Because they exist. You need to bring them in, make them part of your show.
Right.
So I don't know, show business is very special, but I think if you take it seriously, and I think parents who think that they have a gifted child or someone that shows promise, they can't think that all they see on the television is what it is, because it isn't. There are more downtimes to this business than there are ups. And that's the reality of it. You're going to be told no more than you'll be told yes. But the thing is, if you love it and you have something to offer, you persevere and you work hard at it. So that when that call comes, here's the thing. When the call comes, are you ready?
Yeah.
I like Nell Carter, and can you say a word about her? And I think Fantasia's voice reminds me of Nell Carter's voice.
That is a good point.
Fantasia's voice is a little more robust than Nell's. They both have that kind of nasally sound, but Nell Carter's sound was much more nasally than nasal. Hi, Vivian. How I met Nell was doing Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope in Chicago. And Nell played, she replaced, remember Lolita Holloway?
Oh, yes.
She was a disco person. Love, yes. What was it? Love, Sensation, all those hits from the 80s. She was the first gospel lady in Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope, and Nell replaced her. Nell came in, definitely not the singer that Lolita was, but Nell had her own special kind of personality. Nell was special, very warm, very kind. Now, this is what people don't know. I have a video on this on my channel. Nell was supposed to be in Bubbling Brown Sugar. And when we were at Showcase, but every time they got ready to cut one or two more verses out of His Eyes on the Sparrow, which was a big number in that role, she would walk out. She would leave and call me 1 o'clock at night. Vivian, what did they cut? And I said, oh God, Nell, why did you walk out? First of all, they should have been cutting. The song was so doggone long. It was long, long, long. And they were just cutting it down. It still ended up a good length. She left. And so I told her that night when she called me, and I told her what had been cut. I said, Nell, come on back tomorrow, but you can't do that again because they're going to let you go. Well, next day came. She apologized. They decided to cut a couple more verses out of it. She walked out again and they didn't call her back.
Oh, wow.
But I always say, what the hell? She went on to do Ain't Misbehaving and became a big star. So who the hell? Who the hell cares?
Yeah. I had to go plug in. I realized I wasn't plugged in. But yeah, that whole but I'm listening to you talk, right? And I hear you talk about the dedication and the commitment that you have to have. And to me, that just translates into whatever you're doing. So I'm
And whatever.
Yeah. And I guess that makes it, that's what cuts the cloth between, those who succeed and those who don't. So yeah, so this has been a
And
really,
your
really good.
contact so that Helen and I can come take lessons.
You all are perfectly welcome.
She ain't gonna be talking
Whatever.
about me. You heard what she said about the lady that said she could sing. She ain't gonna talk about me like that.
Well, oh, Helen, you never know.
One other question regarding Alicia Keys. She was recently interviewed today, and will you be seeing her on the Broadway play Hell's Kitchen? That's coming.
I have not seen that.
No, it hasn't. It's just coming in this week. But
okay.
Just a quick update on Alicia Keys' voice.
You mean, what do I think?
Yes.
Well, here again, you have a voice that's not great, but it's a voice that can make hit records. That's my point. She's a perfect example. It's not a great voice.
Yeah.
It's not a great voice, but she writes tunes that people love. You can sing with her songs. Her hooks are very strong. That's like a perfect analogy. That's exactly what I was talking about.
The piano.
I mean, the piano. The piano makes. It's marginal. I think it's.
Yeah.
Listen. Her package works and has worked for her. Does she play piano like Brian McKnight? No. Does she play piano like probably even John
Legend?
John Legend? No, not even close.
Aretha plays the piano well.
Aretha plays.
Yes.
Even Taylor Swift, she does a couple songs on the piano, basic.
Oh, make me Google her when we get off, because I was at somewhere and I was saying to somebody, I've never heard of Taylor. Has anybody else on here not heard a Taylor Swift song? I swear I've never heard of one of her songs.
No, it's not songs that we, I mean, there's.
She's big, but I don't. If I would not know.
I mean.
Me too.
Somebody else?
I mean, I didn't know like Taylor Swift songs, but I was intrigued because this woman is a billionaire. She's doing $1 billion business in these stadiums. And I wanted to see, what is this?
Right.
What is this? And I'm going to tell you, she ain't no joke.
Wow, that's good. I hear she's really, she's good to her people. She's good to the people.
I believe that.
Final take on Tina Turner.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Did you ever
No,
meet her?
never met her, but to me, to be able to do what she did, especially all of the trials and tribulations that she experienced during her life, having to sleep on her friend's couch and so forth and so on, to see this woman come out of that and to be able to work huge stadiums and to end her life on such a high note professionally, and then to have someone depict you on Broadway was so befitting, because she always has been, as far back as I can remember, a really quintessential showbiz woman. Never ever giving less than her best on the stage.
For sure.
Even up in age, she just always gave it. And you really can't help but admire people who do that. You know, you can't help admire those people, whether you're into their music or not. I mean, I can't really name a Taylor Swift song either, but I admire what she has done, what Beyonce has done. I mean, let them get mad at her. So she wants to try country and western. Why not? She succeeded in all the other stuff. Why not?
Did you see the Tina on Broadway? Did you see the play?
You mean
Yeah.
with
Just,
oh, what
just
was the big? You mean the oh yeah, the musical? No,
yeah.
I did not see that. No.
And
But
I remember when Tina was making her comeback, it was she wasn't even big yet. It was before what Smoke got to do with it, but she was making her comeback, and my mother was still living, so this is in the 80s, and me and Mom saw her at the casino and in Atlantic City, and she was just mesmerizing even then. So
wait a
just
minute. Okay, so you're not going to talk about the recent. You're talking about from the 80s.
I switched. I went back to the 80s, but then that was a real Tina. That's the only time I saw Tina actually perform. And
because the
then
girl that depict her on Broadway is from Marymount College, the college I teach for. She graduated from that college.
right.
Yeah.
And I saw the play. I was very happy. Well, happy.
Mm-hmm.
The person who was cast for it, I don't even remember her name. She did
Adrienne Warren.
she got sick, and then the understudy came
Oh,
on. So
you saw the understudy.
I saw both of them. She did the first half, and then when they went for intermission, the other lady came on, and they were both good. So I was glad to see them.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, Adrienne is strong. Adrienne's a strong performer, and she's also a wonderful actress. I've seen her in some straight stuff too.
well, this certainly has been a wonderful and engaging conversation. I appreciate your time.
Oh yeah,
Does
we had a good
anybody
time
have
just talking.
does anyone have a burning question before I let Vivian go?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Audra McDowell, is it Audra McDowell?
Audra McDonald.
Yeah, just your thoughts, a few thoughts if you have any.
Audra and I did Marie Christine together back in 1999, and I think she's a wonderful talent. I think I most enjoyed her when she did Lady Day, because I knew that she would have to change her sound in order to be believable. Because other than that, nobody would buy it because of how she really sounds. And so whoever, whether it was a director, I'm not sure who told her to do that. So I was on Facebook one day, and a friend of mine sent the link inside of a private message on Facebook, and he said, click on this link. You're not going to believe this. When I clicked on that link, and she was on Stephen Colbert's show, and he introduced her, when she started singing, I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I was pretty impressed. So when it came on HBO, I watched it, and I was pretty impressed.
Yes.
I was pretty impressed to take her normal sound, and she put in a lot of work into that. Oh my God, a lot of work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like her as an actress. I think as an actress, she has grown down through the years. And yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
contact number, who to if I'm referring someone,
Say that again, sweetheart.
I want to refer someone to you. Where would
Let's
they?
see.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah,
for
they
voice lessons?
Yes.
For voice
Well,
consultation.
yeah, they can get in touch with well, if y'all have a pen, you can call me at 646. Are you noting this down?
Okay.
Put it in the chat. So hold on.
846
I can get
Okay,
to the
646
mhm,
281
281
8468.
8468. Thank you.
And it would definitely be a consultation.
Mhm.
And
Those
don't
are
get
the-
don't get mad now if I say I can't take you on now.
Can consultation be online?
No, it would be live unless you wanted to do. If you live in another,
Mm-hmm.
another state, then yeah, it would have to be Zoom.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so
you're
Ms.
much.
Reed,
welcome.
I'm going to have to run, but again, this
Absolutely.
was an extreme pleasure.
Thank
It
you.
came from one event, and Helen had sent out a gazillion email reminders this time, and I am so grateful. She used the term diva, and sometimes that can have a negative connotation, but it is well earned in your
Oh,
respect
Yes,
to
than that. Yes,
well
that's
earned.
what I
Thank
came.
you so much, and all the best to you with your
She
health.
is a diva
thank you.
defined.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes,
Diva
yes.
defined. Let me remove all spotlights and we can just all tell Miss Vivian good night. If I can figure out how to get us all off of here. Let me see what I got going on. Too much. Um,
What are you trying to do?
remove all spotlights. Uh, okay. Remove
With
mine.
respect to your health condition, while Helen is doing that, you've been to, I take it like New York Presbyterian. You're like the third
Yeah, I
person
went up to New
I
York
know.
Presbyterian. I sought so many opinions, but you can't. I have interstitial lung disease, and you can't reverse lung scarring, and it is progressive. But I'm on medicine every day, twice a day, that I take to slow the progression. So, but in terms of me being able to sing again, that's probably not going to happen.
I have to tell you, you look fabulous. You
Oh, yeah.
you
Absolutely.
sound fabulous. And
Thank you.
if you didn't tell people, we would not know. And I know you're going to
Yeah.
kick butt tomorrow. You're going to be gracious and more beautiful than you are today.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank
you look
you.
like a star.
Congratulations. And good luck tomorrow. I mean, you're doing
Thank
what
you.
you have to do at this time, at this point in your life. So embrace it.
Yes.
It's a beautiful
Thank
thing.
you.
All
Thank you so
right.
much. And on my part, it was wonderful. I love the questions. And I actually spoke on subjects that I normally don't speak on. So yeah, so this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for accepting. I've been after her for a minute, y'all, to get her on here. So I'm
Oh,
glad she's.
sure.
And there's another question, but I'm going to let you go because we'll have you on here forever asking. Somebody's
Mhm.
asking about Gladys. You know, that's another diva, right?
What
Gladys
about
Knight.
Gladys? Let me answer real quick. What do I think of her?
Yes.
The best.
Yes.
I mean, come on. When you talk about people from that period of time,
Oh, yeah.
that was the era, the time when people worked hard on their craft. They never gave a bad show. They did what they had to do, and she was at the top of the list. Did you
Yes.
ever hear her version of the Lord's Prayer?
Oh,
Oh, you all need to find that.
I heard a
Mhm.
version of I Am Telling You, and she made it her own.
There you go.
She made it her own. I didn't remember Jennifer at all when she was doing it.
Well, and that's how it should be. But that's how it should be.
Yeah, I've seen her in concert too. And she's another Gemini like me and you.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, she is. I'm not anywhere. That's the only thing we have in common, that we're both Geminis. All three of us are Geminis.
Yes.
anyway, thank you so much for your time. This will be
Yes.
on YouTube, and I'll send you the link. You can do whatever you want with it. Kick butt tomorrow. Know that we're all there with you in spirit,
Thank you.
and you're going to do well. And you can come back anytime you wish.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Helen.
So on that note, ladies, when Black women gather, what happens?
Amazing.
Amazing things happen.
Amazing things happen. We've had another amazing afternoon with the Diva Defined, Vivian Reed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording. We can hang out here for a few more minutes. But let me stop the recording.